When you are cooking in a kitchen that is being used to serve people that are allergic to wheat or gluten, it is important to keep any wheat or gluten out of their food. This is important for the safety and health of the person that you are cooking for. Even tiny amounts of wheat, oats, barley, rye, and malt are not safe for a person with celiac disease. Keeping a kitchen gluten-free can be very easy with a few simple steps, and if you are careful while you are preparing the food. Any dish, even if it doesn't contain any wheat, can still become gluten contaminated. The most likely contamination would come from the loose wheat flour, which can linger in the air and settle on surfaces up to 24 hours after it has been used. Other possible contamination comes from countertops, utensils, and kitchen appliances that have been previously used with gluten-containing foods. To start the gluten-free meal cooking process, first clean the countertops and anything that will be used to create the meal. Make sure that loose flour has not been used recently. It takes 24 hours for all of the wheat to settle out of the air, so it is best to have no loose flour in the kitchen when cooking a gluten-free meal. It is safest if the gluten-free meal is prepared first and set aside covered. If possible, design the whole meal to be gluten-free. Cross-contamination happens all over the kitchen, including in the toaster, stove, oven, countertops, and utensils. These are the major areas for cross-contamination that you should watch out for. The toaster has had wheat regularly, so it is not okay to toast his or her bread in the toaster. Instead, use the oven with a piece of clean tin foil. The stove can also be part of cross-contamination. If you are cooking food that has wheat in it on one burner and a gluten-free version on another burner, the oil, grease, or even steam can carry the wheat into the gluten-free pan, contaminating the gluten-free dish. When several items are cooking simultaneously, accidental use of the wrong utensil while stirring is also a danger. In the oven, things can bubble down to the lower level. It is important to put the gluten-free on top in the oven and not on the lower rack. If you are cooking a pizza on the oven rack, you need to put the gluten-free pizza on a piece of foil and put it on the top shelf. If you put the gluten-free under the wheat pizza might drip some of the cheese and sauce onto the gluten-free pizza, leading to contamination. Countertops are one of the most common places for contamination. If there are any wheat crumbs on the countertops when you are preparing something gluten-free, it could get contaminated. You might set something down like a spoon and then stir the sauce that you are going to put on the gluten-free pasta. This would contaminate the gluten-free spaghetti. Finally, utensils. Utensils can look clean when in fact they still have gluten on them. If you stir wheat pasta with one spoon and then you stir the gluten-free pasta with the same spoon, the gluten-free pasta is no longer truly gluten-free. The same thing can happen with knives. You cut some bread and then you cut some gluten-free bread. Now the gluten-free bread has wheat all over it, and it is no longer gluten-free. Keeping food gluten-free and free of contamination can be hard, but it is necessary for the health of the people you are cooking for. If possible, it is always easier to cook a meal that is naturally gluten-free. But if that will not work, make sure that you are following all of the rules. It may help to think of gluten or wheat as a poison that might get into the person's food. Remember to cook the gluten-free food first whenever possible.